Well, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do something kind of interesting. We're going to actually marry two different projects together. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to take a solar lantern that we've made before. That's the ones that look like this. That has a solar panel on the top of them. This is a three-sided one. This one that I'm thinking about making is going to be four-sided. Anyway, so that's the solar lantern part of it. And then what we're going to do, we're going to marry the project that we just did with the succulents in it, with the hanging succulents. So we're going to marry this onto the solar lantern itself. So I have no idea how this is going to come out or what it's going to look like, but we're going to give it a whirl. And I've got a little sketch here I'll show you to show you what it's going to kind of look like. Here again, we're going to make it about 4.5 inches wide. This will be where the solar panel goes in top here. Down the sides here, I'm going to run a iridescent glass. This is this clear one, ripple. It's going to go straight down here. It's going to be a 3/4 inch wide. And then in the middle here, I'm going to run a clear, another type of ripple glass down the middle of it here. And then where these lines break right here, they won't break. This will be one solid piece here. Where they break, where these breaks are right here in the bottom, it's where our pockets are going to go for our plants, for our succulents. We're going to use artificial succulents. So the top one here is going to be 1.25 inches. This first break is going to be at 3 inches. This will be 3.5. And down at the bottom, we're going to use 3/4, 3, and 3.25. And we're going to fill the pockets full of these little guys right here. These are the succulents. They're artificial. So there are all kinds of different shapes and sizes and so forth. So that's what we're going to put in our pockets on our solar lantern. For the lighting of it, we're going to use this little bundle right here. This is the solar panel. It's got 150 twinkle lights on it. So this is the unit we're going to use for that. And the reason we're making it square is otherwise, if you're going to do this with on a 3-part or a 3-panel one, this gets quite large. So this is going to be a fairly small one. So anyway, to get started, we're going to also take, I have a lot of scrap glass that I've used over the years. And so I'm going to take it. It's all different colors, all kind of mixed up. So anyway, just give you a little sampling of it. Here's kind of a little box that's got pieces in it. They're not enough to do a whole project. So what we're going to do, we're going to mix these all up in this project. So here across the top, where this is going to be these triangles, we'll do them in all different colors. And the face, now the pocket face for the pocket, it's going to be about 2.25 inches by 3 inches. We're going to do it on a V also. So this will be a color, this will be a color, and this will be a color. So it's going to be quite colorful, even though we're using the clear glass. And the reason I'm going to use the clear glass, I'm hoping that we'll get some good light through the clear area onto our plants. Whether that'll work or not, I don't know. So you're kind of taking an adventure with me here on this one here. So I've got things set up here. Let me go offline and get set up a little bit, and we'll show you how we're going to draw this out. Here again, this is going to be a cut and stack project. We'll start down here at the top, and we'll build back up. So I'm not going to use what I draw as a pattern. I'm just going to use it to show you what it looks like. If you want to try to make this, you can certainly make a pattern with these dimensions, and the outcome should be pretty good. The pockets themselves, like on this one here, this is going to be the same. We're going to do the same size pocket here. They're 3 inches across here. They're 1.25 inches high here. And as you can see here, we just lost our plants. So these are really difficult to plant. You just take them, you stick them back in the planter. So it's not a real big deal there. So that's what's involved in replanting it. So this will be the same thing. We'll have the same triangles that we're going to use here to support them. So they'll go on the main body of our solar lantern when we get that done. So anyway, we'll be back in a second, and I'll go ahead and we'll sit down here and we'll go ahead and draw this up. So we'll be back in a second. All right, so we're back here. So we'll get ready to draw this up now. So let me check and make sure you're going to be in the picture here. That'll work. So we're going to start with just a baseline right here. And then we're going to just start with the center here. This is 8.5 by 11, so it's going to be 4 1/4 inches. This will give us an up line right here. And we're on our drawing here, we're saying this is going to be 3 inches. So we'll go here, half of 3 inches is 1 1/2. So we'll go here. And we'll go to 3 inches here. So that'll be our pieces in the middle. Just pull it down there and draw it in here. Our outside edges, we said there's going to be 3/4, so we'll make there 3/4 here. We'll come over here with 3/4. So that makes the whole panel 4 1/2 inches wide. So this will be our solid piece right here, all the way down. This will be the one we're going to do in the iridescent ripple. Now I'm drawing these lines long here because we'll just leave them stick out there. All right, so that's that. Now across the header here, this is where this will be to hide our solar panel. This little guy right here. So to hide the control box, we want to put something in here that's opaque. So we're going to make it 1 1/4 right here. And we're going to just come across here. Like that. The first break, we said we're going to do it 3 inches. So we'll come in here at 3 inches, right here. And then 3 1/2 for the last one. The reason I'm going to go to 3 1/2 for this last one, I want to have some room to put our succulents in there, in the pocket that's there. So this is going to go here. And this line here is just going to go to here. And then this last one here is going to go all the way across, like that. These guys right here, we're not going to use these at all. There will be nothing here. So now I want to do this, I want this zigzag effect here. The dimensions right here don't lend themselves to any triangle. It's more than a 45, but it's less than a 60 degree. So what we're going to do, we're going to divide this into 4s. And what we'll do is we'll start right here. And what we'll do, we'll start here, I'm sorry. We'll start right here. So this is 4 1/2. So it'll be 1 1/8 is the middle of that. So there's 1 1/8 there. 1 1/8 right there. 1 1/8. And what we're going to do with that, we're going to take our ruler in here and we're just going to set it in here up against the corner. Like this. Draw down to our center line here. Draw down. This one here will be back up this way. And this one here will be back up this way. So that's an easy way to get it so it comes out even. So I'll show you here. The 45 is almost perfect, but it's not quite. See, I don't know if you can see through here or not, but it would be bigger than the exact setting, which means our corners would come way out here to the outside edge. And so I don't want to do that, so we want to keep it like that. So that's pretty much what we're going to do right now. This will give you an idea, and then our planters will start here and come up that we're going to add to this. So we'll need to make 4 of these. We're going to put our hanger. Our hanger will be right here in the corner, like we've done on the other solar lanterns. We'll just put one there. So the lantern will end up with 4 hangers on it. So we'll use four chains to a grip to a split ring, and then to our spinner. So anyway, this gives you an idea of where we're going to go with that. And when we come back, have laid out a form for this part right here. We won't do anything with this right here yet, because as we cut this, if you remember, here again, we're going to cut and stack this. So remember, your glass cutter, or what you're using, because the cutting wheel is in between these legs, that's going to add to it. We're not going to use a grinder or anything to size this up. So what we're going to do, I have a piece of angle aluminum here. We've talked about this before. It's a 1/2 inch across this side, 3/4 across this side. So we'll take and we'll cut our down strips using this. So it's going to be 3/4 plus whatever that 3/4 plus whatever this is on my cutter, which is about a 1/16 of an inch. And the same thing with the center one here. For our 3-inch one, I have a 3-inch ruler. And so then I'm going to take on the edge here, it'll have this 1/16. So this will come out here a little bit more. This will probably end up right about, right now I said it was 4.5. It'll probably end up right about 4 5/8, which will be fine, because if you remember, as we add the lead to these, that pushes them on out. So it'll work out just fine. So we won't have to worry about that. So anyway, I'll come out. We're going to build a form down here and across here. We'll leave this open. Then we'll cut our glass, and then we'll get ready to get the final size out here. We want to make these inside a form because we want all 4 of them to be exactly the same size. So when we go to put this together, we won't have a problem with one being on top of each other or be crooked. So we'll be back in a second. I'll lay this out on our build board here, which is a Homasoit board. We've talked about that before. I use a push pins on it, and I'm going to just use the little form wood that we've used in the other projects. So hopefully you've watched some of my other videos, and you've had a chance to see how we put this together. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, well, we're back. Had a little false start here. Had the microphone turned off, so I kind of started to put this together, and then realized it wasn't had no audio with it. So anyway, so we'll start over as far as making the border goes, or the frame for this. I decided to put this drawing down on the board after all, and the reason for that, I want to show you how this grows by adding the cane to it. So to put our form down, I'm just going to take my carpenter square like we've used in all these other ones. I'm going to set it in here like this. And we're going to take our form wood right here. Remember, we're going to put our hanger right here. So we need to leave a little bit of a gap for that hanger to fit in there. Here again, we're using this little wire brads. And we're going to go through our Homasoit board into a plywood backing on our work table here. So we'll take and put this down real quick. These little pieces of form wood are made from 3/4 inch pine. They're just put on a table saw, and I just set the gate and just run it through. This is like between 3/16 and a 1/4 inch wide, and you just use them over and over and over. Okay, this one here, I'm going to pull it in here like this. Comes up against to our line here. Comes down here, and here again we're going to leave this open right here so that we can get our hanger in here. If you don't leave that open, you'll have a problem with that. Right here, we can check that with our triangle. Just take a triangle here and set it in here to make sure that's straight, which it is. That's good. So we'll take and we'll tack this one down right here. Now we want to make sure these are all straight because we're going to make 4 of these. And if they're not straight and they're not exactly the same, when you go to put them together, they won't line up just right. And we'll put one more right here in the middle. All right, so there's that. Now down the sides and across the top here, we're going to use U-cane. So it's a 1/4 inch across the face of it here. Across the crown, it's 3/16 of an inch, and the channel here is 3/16 of an inch. So it gives you kind of an idea of how the size of that. Here again, we have a piece that's going to go across the top here, across here. Don't know exactly how long that's going to be, so we'll put it in here in a second. I've got a couple little V notches in it right here. This is where the hanger is going to go. So when these go together like this, this will give us a little area for the hanger to come out of. And if you watch any of my other videos, you know we're making the hangers out of a 3/32 steel cotter pin. It's zinc plated, not stainless steel, but zinc plated. And the way we do that, I'll show you real quick here. We need a couple pairs of long nose pliers. Let me get these out here real quick. And this is the cotter pin right here. It's 1.5 inches long. It's 3/32 in diameter. And to make this hanger, it's real simple. In fact, I have a video out on my channel that you can see how to make this for all kinds of different applications. So you just hold in the loop here. I have a little piece of tubing here. It's a little brass tubing. It's 3/32 across the opening here. Just slide this onto the longest leg here, pull it up, and pull that up to a 90-degree bend right here, like that. And this is going to sit in here like this, just like that. So that'll give you an idea how that's going to go. These legs will go underneath the cane. Now this one here, this leg here, you notice it's hanging down beyond our border here. So that's going to interfere with this piece of glass right here. So what we'll do, most long nose pliers have a side cutter on them like this one here. I'm just going to push this in here and cut that off. So now it's going to be below it here. It won't be interfering. So then you take your header piece here, set it right in here like this, in the notch. Put your other piece of U-came here, bring it down, and it goes right like that. We'll take a couple pins here, and we'll just pin this to go here. Now, one of the advantages of drawing your own patterns and making your own projects, especially when we do this cut and stack thing that I come up with, is that we don't care if it grows a little bit. And it's going to grow as each time we cut the glass, it gets a little bit bigger. And then each time that we put the lead in, it gets a little bit bigger. But we don't really care because it doesn't have to fit anywhere. If you're making something that specifically fits in an open area, then you're going to have to be much more careful as far as cutting your glass and be sure that you don't get out of your pattern. In this case, we don't really care. You'll notice when we start to build out here, this will probably end up about out here somewhere, and which I don't really care, but I just want to leave this in here to show you that. I did make a little pattern for this area right here. Here's what it looks like right here. And it's just made out of a piece of manila folder, and I just put it on the copier and made a copy of it right here. Since we are doing a cut and stack deal, we're going to take and cut this with just a regular pair of scissors right here in the middle of these two lines, because they'll help spread this out. Because this, like I said before, by the time we get out here at the end, we're probably going to be out here maybe 1/4 inch or so. So we'll go ahead and do that. So now let me bring my cutting board over real quick, and we'll cut up some pieces of glass. I'll show you how we're going to do that. I'll move these pins out of the way right now so that they don't interfere with the cutting board, and stick on a little board right here. All right, so I'll be back in 1 second here. All right, but I have my cutting board here now. It's just a board that I made up. It's got out here in the end here. It's got a 90-degree angle right here. And it's just made up on a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. It's got, like I say, a 90-degree angle at the top here, and just a backstop right here. I use this to cut all my glass for all my projects. So the first thing we're going to do right here, we're going to need two for here and here that are 3/4 inch wide. So like I said before, we're going to do that in this Ripley iridescent. I'm going to cut it on the smooth side. So we're just going to take, and I'm going to move this over here so we can see what we're doing here. Going to move that over right like that. And here again, we're going to use the aluminum angle here. This is the one that's 3/4 across this side, 1/2 inch across here. So all you got to do is just take this, set it in here against your side guide right here. Make sure it's pushed up. You can push or pull with your glass cutter. Doesn't make any difference. I can put a little bit of cutting oil on the cutting wheel. This one here has an oil feed, but I like to oil it every once in a while. Just push it along here. You can take your running pliers. The running pliers are concaved here, so you just add up where this little line is right here. You just light it up on your score line, and you take and you make your score. So you just set your ruler in here. I use all kinds of different rulers and things like this. Since I'm designing and making these projects myself, there's no pattern to them. I can make it a nice convenient size for me to cut. Here again, we push that last one. This one here, you can pull it or push it. Even pressure, even speed is a good idea to do. Bring your cutter in here just like that and push it in. So those are those two. Okay, we're going to end up using we're going to need 6 more of these for the other panels we're going to build. Now here, the middle one, we're going to use the other crinkle glass. It's actually called Crackle. We're going to get it. It's a little bit bigger sheet right here. We're going to set it in here. This is the one that we're going to use 3 inches wide. Put it up against your backstop here. Bring in your ruler. You notice I've got arrows marked on here. That shows kind of the direction of this pattern. It doesn't look much like a pattern when you look at it at first, but if you were to put one of these pieces going this way and one sideways, you'll see that it shifts and you get this effect right here. And you don't notice it too much when you're building it, but when you hang it up, it gets real evident that you've turned these pieces around. Okay, so we're going to hold this with our 3-inch piece right here. Here we're going to start right here at the edge. We're going to score that. This one here, I'm just going to take and hold it. Let me pull it down here. I'm just going to hold it with my fingers here, right here, and just apply pressure and just snap it. So that'll make our pieces for our center section right here. Word of caution, when you're doing the ripple glass, keep an eye out on the edges here, because sometimes where these little lines come across here, they have like a razor sharp edge on them. So be careful with that. You may even want to just take and run this down on your grinder really quick. You can't, I don't know if you can see that right here. Here's one right here. It's a really sharp razor edge. And you can really cut yourself on that if you're not careful. So keep an eye out on that on any time you're doing ones with ripple or ridges like that. So keep that in mind. All right, so we'll come back in a second here, and we'll get ready and we'll put this together, and we'll show you how that's going to work. Okay, we're back. We got all our pieces cut now to the right width. So in order to find out how big to put our next form piece out here, we're just going to stack them together here. So we're just going to take one here, set it in here. Going to use a piece of H-came, go in here like this. Then we're going to take one of our center pieces here. It's going to go in here like this. We'll get another piece of H-came here. It's going to go in here like that. Get these out of the way here. We need another piece of side glass here. I need to push this back down here just a little bit. The reason I'm pushing that back down here, remember our cotter pin legs go underneath there, and unless you grind out for the thickness of it, it's going to push your glass off to the side here, and we don't want that to happen. So for right now, we'll just push this down a little bit further here. All right, and then we need a piece of U-came to go along the outside edge here. Yes. And now we take our piece of form wood, we'll stick it back in here just like that. And we're just going to push this in lightly. We don't want these to be wiggly, but we want to be able to slide them in and out. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take our plastic triangle here and set it in here. And we're going to make it go up square here. So that means that these will be square. And like I say, we're just going to push this in lightly here. I don't want to pinch that. And I'm not going to nail this down. I'm going to just use my pins. Just going to take and pin it straight down. Just like that. Be able to move in and out of here fairly tight, which they are. They're very tight. So that'll work out just fine. That way we make sure that we've got this all nice and tight in here. We don't want it to be loose where the pieces are wiggling around. If you cut the pieces too small, or there's gaps in between the lead and the glass, what you're going to need to do is probably have to glaze this, and we don't want to glaze the panels. They're really too small. So make sure that you're nice and tight here, and we can just take and we can push this whole thing straight out of here, just like that. So we'll take and put this back in here. Just like this. Put our cotter pin in here. And now, this one here, by running this U-came down here, this shows us where to quit, where this is going to cut here. So this needs to be this long right here. We can take this out. We'll take and trim it here again with the smooth side of your cutters. We'll cut this on a 45, just kind of eyeball it. This one here we'll cut on a 45 also. And it should fit just like that right there. We'll put our cotter pin back in here. I think I knocked it on the floor. So anyway, let's put our cotter pin back in here. We don't want to forget that. Once you get this all soldered up, it's a little tough to put it back in there then. So we'll set it in here. This comes down in here like that. We can just take and pin these. So we talked about adding lead and cutting the glass. You see here, here's where our drawing ended, but see, we're beyond that by, that was just about right, just a little over 1/4 of an inch, about 5/16. The whole project grew about 5/16 long. So now what we're going to do, we're going to work on this header part right here. So we'll need a piece of H-came right here that's going to go across the header. So we just take it, we'll mark that right here. Okay. Just a little bit more. You want these joints to be nice and tight. You don't want them to be too much wiggle in them. Okay, so we'll set that one aside. Now what we'll do, I'm going to take and cut this. Like I said, I'm going to just, because if you can see right now, if this goes in here like this, you can see that it looks like it's going to be too short. But by the time we add the lead in here, it's going to push it back out to line up just about perfectly. If we need to, we can grind just a little bit on the edges to make it fit the way we want it. So I'm going to go offline. I'm going to cut this into some pieces. And when we come back, we'll come back with these two here, 4 and 2 right here. And we'll put them in first, and then we'll cut these to go ahead to go in it. And like I say, we're going to just use random color. So I'm just going to grab them out of the box, and whatever I grab, I'm going to just go ahead and cut a triangle. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put them in here. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back. We got our little pieces cut now. So if you remember, we took our little pattern here and we cut it all up into pieces now. So what I did with that is I just use a glue stick and I just kind of stick it down to a piece of glass and then cut it out. So that's the 5 pieces right here. Remember, we didn't allow for anything for the lead seam. We just cut right down the middle because it's already growing a little bit. So don't worry about this. This is the trickiest part of this whole project. The rest of it's really straightforward. So to start with, your lead cutters, when you cut it from the inside here, that makes a perfect 45 point right on your lead. So when we're going to start here, we'll start right down here in this corner right here with this piece right here. And what we're going to do here, because remember the cotter pin leg's going back underneath her for her hanger. So you want to take, if you can see this here, you want to grind this back here. Let me get a ruler here and we'll stick it on here. See how that's got a gap in it there now? So if you don't do that, it'll make the whole thing kind of crooked. So if you can visualize this, the cotter pin is sitting here on top of this. So you want to grind it back about the same amount as the cotter pin is thick right here. So that you get a kind of a straight view of it rather than get it start to go crooked. If you were to put it on the whole thing, then the whole thing's going to start crooked and then it won't line up when you get ready to get down to this line right here. So we're going to take this one right here. We're going to set it in here, up all the way here. And let's see here, we'll find this piece right here. Oh, here it is. This piece here goes right in here. And it's going to go down right in the corner here. This will go right in that corner right there. That 45 will go right there. Take and pin this because it gets a lot of moving little pieces. So that goes in the corner right there. Make sure you got it where you want. This one here doesn't have to be ground down because the cotter pin's not going all the way across here. So this piece here is going to go in here. And like I said before, we're going to mix these colors all up so it doesn't make any difference where you put what. Here again, our 45's cut right here. That's going to go in here. Right there. You notice I've got this cut on the angle, but it's back behind this point because our other piece of H-cam is going to run across the top here. This one here is going to go down here. Going to make a right there. This one's going to go in here. Okay, so they make an intersection right here. If you think things are getting away from you, go ahead and pin them here like this. That goes like that, except that one, see I've got this is upside down because that's going to be going the wrong angle. Turn that one over. Take your time with this. It takes a little fooling around to get it lined up exactly where you want it. So don't get impatient with it. Okay, now our green one here is going to go in here. It's going to be this one right in here. Push it down, make sure it's going to be tight here. That looks good. If it's a little bit long right here, you can just take it on your grinder and run it back here, or you can just take right here on each side of this and just take a little cut down on it. It looks like it's just a little bit long, so I'm going to mark it right here. Sometimes you have a little area that's sticking out, and maybe it's not seating just right. So let me look at that real quick. Yeah, we got a little point right here where it's a little bit thick right here. So let me step away real quick and I'll just grind this back real quick. I'll be right back right against the glass because it'll chip it. And we're going to take and put that right there. Now these corner pieces here, they're going to go in here like this. See how this is going to line up right here? That looks pretty good. Put another piece here. This is sticking up just a little bit high also. So maybe we'll take right here and we'll take a little bit of a grind off of here. I could have fitted these before we started the video, but I wanted to show you that it takes a little bit of fooling around, especially when you're doing the zigzag. So I'm going to take a little bit of a grind right back here. Here we go. This one here is going to slide right down in here. That looks better. Now this one over here, it's going to sit in here like this. That one fit perfect right by itself. Okay, so there we go. So that's our zigzag on the top here, as I said before. Because we're using clear glass here, here, and here, we're going to make these all crazy colors, and the pockets will be all different colors too. So we'll have some different look to the project. Then our H-came goes on top here, and we'll get a little block of wood just put in here to hold this over. We can just go ahead and pin it right here. Push this down tight, just like that. We can take and pull this pin out. We'll move it over here. Take and check this with our T-square. You want to try to make this square to start with, because that starts the whole foundation for our project. That looks good. That'll work. Okay, so now we're going to take our first piece of clear. It's going to come down, slide in here. And I'm going to leave these long right now because we'll cut these, and then we'll know exactly where we want to cut these off. So we won't do anything until we get to there. Okay, this first piece that goes in here, we said it was going to be 3 inches. So I'll take and go over my cutter here, and we'll take and cut this at 3 inches. Okay. And the next piece we're going to cut here. Let me bring the cutting board over and show you real quick what we're going to do here. Okay, so let me bring this over here so we can get in here where we can see what we're doing here. Okay, so we're going to do the first one at 3 inches. So that's this ruler right here. So we're going to go right here at 3 inches. And we'll take and mark that. Before I snap this though, I'm going to take a pin, and I'm going to make some lines go across here like this, because I'll match this piece to this piece so that the grain stays the same. Otherwise, the swiggles, although you may not ever notice it, may get mixed up. So I'm going to take and snap this. And then I'm going to put this back in here. And now this piece here, we're going to make it 3.5. So we're going to get our angle aluminum again. Bring our 3 inch over, so this will be our 1.5 right here. Take and cut that. Take our running pliers and snap it. All right, now this piece here is going to go in here like this. If you think this is going to get away from you, come back down here. Use a little piece of old U-came here to hold it so it doesn't get away. This piece is going to go in here like this. Okay, here again we can put a piece of old U-came right here if we want to. Now we need a piece of H-came to go across here. I'll get some more H-came out here. This is going to go right here. Mark it. If you're not sure about that mark, just do this. Take this out here. Take your other piece of H-came that's going to run the whole length. Set it in here like that. Take and put a couple pins in it. And then you can put it in here and you can mark it. I would have been okay right there, but just wanted to be sure. Bring it off, cut it on your line. Straight side. That's just a little bit too long. There you go. And then this piece here now, be sure you get the pretty side up though. So we're going to match it around here. It's going to slide down just like that. All right, well, we're back. So we got everybody all lined up here now. So the last thing we gotta do is put a piece across the back here. We're going to use our U-came across the back. But right now you can see here, this piece right here needs to be trimmed just a little bit. It's a little bit too long. So I'm going to just take my T-square here. I'm going to line it up on the edges right here and just going to mark this. Just like that. Okay, so I'll slip away real quick and grind that, and then I'll come right back and we'll put that in. We'll put our end piece in, and then we'll get ready to solder this up. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got that ground back here, so now it's nice and even. So now we're going to take our last piece of U-came right here, and it's going to go in between these two like this. Have a little bit of form wood to go against the back of it here. And I'm going to take my T-square here again, and I'm going to make sure that this is square, which it is. Push that down nice and tight. Take a couple pins here. Pin behind it here. And then we're going to get ready to solder it. So we'll be all ready to put that one together. So let me get my soldering iron plugged in. We'll make sure everybody's pushed down nice and tight here. Make sure all your end pieces are down good, tight. This all looks nice and tight in here so we don't have any loose pieces. So we'll get the soldering iron out. We'll get it plugged in. And then when we come back, we'll go ahead and solder this up. So I'll show you how we're going to do that, because out here on the outside edges here, we're not going to solder any of on the back side of this. So when our panels, when they go together, there won't be any gaps or spaces between them. So we'll be back in a minute here when the soldering iron is warmed up, and we'll go ahead and solder this up real quick. Okay, so we got the soldering iron all warmed up now. So we're going to get ready to solder this up. So let me get my solder straightened out here a little bit. I'm going to take a little stainless steel brush right here, and I'm just going to hit the joints just a little bit, kind of shine them up just a tad. This helps knock off any oxidation, fingerprints, things like that, oil on your skin, and you get a little better solder joint. Okay, we're going to use I'm using a liquid flux right here, so we're just going to flux up all the joints. Just like that. All right, and we're going to take our soldering iron. Going to just take and tin it just a little bit. I'm going to start, we can start anywhere, we'll start right here. Put our first joint down. I'm just taking off about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch off of the end of the soldering, or the solder, to get a nice little joint. This one here, where these come together right here, I'm going to take about an 1/8 of an inch off of my solder, and I'll just do both of these at the same time. Do the same thing here. And right here we can do the same thing too. Come down here. And we'll come on down to the end here and whoops. Solder these two off. I try to make the beads all about the same size if possible. Sometimes you get one that's a little thicker than the other. All right, that takes care of that side. I'll just take a little cloth here, knock off any excess flux that we have on here. Take this out, and we're going to take and we're going to turn it over. Should fit in here nice and tight, just like that. We're not going to solder anything along the edges here, but we're going to solder all this in here so it'll help hold everything together until we get ready to put it together. And if you watch any of the videos on how to make the solar lanterns, you'll see why we don't solder them down the edges here, because otherwise where your solder joint is, it makes it pull away from each other and you end up with a gap, so you get a air gap through it. And when it lights up at night, the light comes through it, so it doesn't look that great. So we want to be sure that we won't do that. We won't put any right here either. All right. Let's go ahead and solder this real quick. This will hold it all together for us here. Okay, so now we got to do something with these ends down here. And if you watched any of my other videos, you know we're going to just take and cut the edges off about 1/4 of an inch up. We'll pull this up right here. We're going to take this away here. I'll get my dikes out here. I'll come up here. We're going to take this right here and we're going to cut it about 1/4 inch up. We're going to trim it here, here. We're going to make this into a little bit of a point. And I'm going to take it on the edge of my workbench, and I'm going to take this little point that's on here, and I'm going to bend it over into the gap. So now it's bent over into the gap right here. If your lead's sticking up here on the side here just a little bit, just take your block here and just push it back in a little bit to push that back in. So here again, we're going to do the same thing over here. Trim it here, here. All this does is fill up that gap there, so you don't have to fool around with trying to solder the bigger gap closed. Okay, so now we got them both bent over and on the edges here. This is still sticking out here just a little bit here. I want to push that in just a little bit. There we go. All right, now I'm going to solder these shut, but I need something to hold this up with. Here again, we're going to get out the drill vise and to hold this up. If you don't have a drill vise, a couple of pieces of 2x4 or something like that will help hold that up for you while you solder this. So we're going to hold that up. We're going to take and put a little flux on both of these. Take our siren iron and we're just going to go ahead and solder this right here. Just close that off just a little bit. Let me move this over here so it's a little bit in the picture a little bit better. Kind of got this right in the middle of everything here. So we're just going to close this off right here. Just like that. Doesn't take much solder. Now, you could leave these edges like that if you wanted to. I'm going to put them on some 80 grit sandpaper and sand them down. The sandpaper I use, I'm buying sanding discs that have an adhesive back on them. I just peel the back off and stick it to a corner of my work table, and I can just take these and move them back and forth on that paper. So it's easier than trying to do it by hand. Here around our hanger, we're going to solder here, and this one right here we're going to solder. So we'll put a little solder, a little flux right here. We're going to put flux around the solder here, around our cotter pin or our hanger. This one here, we'll just set this up on a little bit of an angle, like this. When I tighten this up, I'm tightening it up just enough to hold it. Don't get too strong and break your glass. So I'm going to just take and solder that shut right there. That works good. on the hanger now. I'm going to set this on an angle like this. Here again, I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to take and tin my iron just like that. And I'm going to set this right in here, and I'm just going to hold it here until it flows away. There it goes. Do it one more time. So now we're trapping that cotter pin in between these two legs on the U-came, so it can't get out. So that'll take a lot of abuse to try to get that out of there. Now this one here, we're just going to fill in this gap right here. Here again, you can just put it here and let it sit until it flows into it. Just like that. All right. I'll take this over on my sandpaper now, and I'll take and flux it all, or sand it all up. Take care of any sharp edges are right here. We've got a couple little points right here. We'll just take and knock those off. And we'll clean this up a little bit, and that'll be our first panel. From there, we'll go ahead and we'll make 3 more like this, and then we'll put them together. Then we'll build our pockets to go in here, and then we'll show you, they'll solder onto these pieces here and across the bottom here. So we'll be back in a minute as soon as I get this cleaned up, and then we'll be able to go offline. We'll make the other ones, and we'll go ahead and finish the project. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, well, we're back. We got it all cleaned up now, so you can see we did all the edges here. So they came out real nice and clean for us here. Here's our hanger in here, so that's not going to be coming out of there anytime soon. So that looks nice. Here's the bottom down here. So this is going to come out really nice. We're probably going to Pantene this one. I'll probably do that offline because the video is going to run a little bit long. So you can see the Pantene on any of the other videos that I've done, or you may already know how to do the Pantene on it. Just for interest, this line that you see right here, that's how long this ran over what our original drawing was. So shows you how much each piece of lead and each cut of your glass increases the project. But like I said before, this is a cut and stack. It's our own design, so we don't really care if it gets a little bit bigger or not. But we've cut it to be convenient for us, where we're using a 3/4 inch ruler or 3-inch ruler. This is the only tricky part across the top here, and it's not that difficult. You just take some time to play with it. So anyway, I'll go offline. I'm going to make 3 more of these, and then when we come back, I'll put them in I have a jig that's set at a 45. We'll put them in and we'll solder them down the edges here. I'll show you how some little clips I made that go on the edges here to pull them in tight so we don't have any air gaps through them, so we don't have any light coming through. And then we'll go ahead and make our pockets for it. And then we'll go ahead and put them on, and then we'll be all done with the project. So the 150 twinkle lights, we're just going to stuff them down in here at random when this is all done. And so wherever they come out, that'll be where they'll be. That'll just be fine for us. All right, so we'll be back as soon as we get the rest of these made. All right, well, we're back. We got the panel all cleaned up now. So there's 2 more things that we need to do to it. One, we need to put a cleat right here to hold our solar panel. And down at the bottom here, we're going to put a little piece of, this is just galvanized tin. And it's been made, just cut it about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter long by about 1/2 inch wide. And it goes in the bottom here. We're going to put a bottom in this, so when we put the lights in here, they can't fall out the bottom. So to do this one right here, we're just going to do it with a little piece of H-came. And it's going to go right in here, right on top of this one right here. And we're going to take our little medical clamps right here. And I'm going to take and push this in here like this. I'm going to set this in here like this. And I'm going to take and clamp it down. I'm going to take and flux this area right here. I'm going to flux this area right here. And then I'm going to take and tin my soldering iron. Just going to take and tin it here. Just like that. Then I'm going to set this piece right here. And I'm just going to go in between the two pieces of H-came right here. Let the solder flow off of it. Then what we're going to do, we're just going to come across here and we're going to solder this whole thing shut. Just put it on here, just let it go flowing by. You could probably just spot solder this if you wanted to. I usually just take and close them up all the way. Just like that. So that gives your cleat this look right here. Then what we're going to do, we're going to go down here to the end, this end right here. I've got it marked right here where the center's at. So we're going to take and we're going to put our little plate here that's going to hold the bottom in. And we're going to just push it in here. We're going to just eyeball this where we want it. Make sure this is up against the square here. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take and mark this. Get a pen here. I'm going to take and mark this. And the reason I'm going to do that, get it so it works here. The reason I'm going to do that is because we're using round U-cane. If I leave it down there, this sharp edge will be sticking down below the round part of the U-cane. So I'm going to raise this up about 1/8 of an inch like that. I'm going to take a little board on the top side here with a pin, and I'm going to pin this so it doesn't move. Then I'm going to just take it, we're going to flux it. Here again, we're going to take our soldering iron, and we're just going to tin it. Set it in here. Then I'm just going to give it some more solder, and I'm just going to drag it along here. And that's it. So now the panel's all done. So anyway, I hope you've been following along on this, and we'll get the other panels made. And when we get them made, we'll come back and we'll put them together as a group of 2, and then we'll put them together as a group of 4 to make the complete solar lantern. And then we'll come back and we'll put our pockets on here, and I'll show you how we're going to make the pockets in a minute. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, well, we're back here. We've got all 4 of our panels now. They're all done. They've all been finished off on the edges here. We've all got our cleat here for our solar light. This will be where the solar panel sits, and we've got our little plate down on the bottom where we'll put our bottom in. So now we're going to put these together as sets of 2. So we'll just move a couple of these out of the way, and I'm going to do that on a little jig that I have. It's set on a 45-degree angle right here on both sides. It's got 2 little tabs here to stop the units from coming off the end. And the way this works is you just take and you set these in here like this. Set them in there like that. And this is the area that we're going to work on right here. We want to make this line up just so it makes a perfect V right here. Right in there. Going to make it nice and tight. You don't want it up like that. You don't want it like that. You want it to just kiss where the inner edges here are just kissing each other. And we're just going to tack solder right here at the top. If you can see here at the bottom, there's a little bit of a gap there. We want to fix that before we solder it so we don't have any bleed through. So we're going to take that, we're just going to flux it. There, and we're going to flux it right here. And we're just going to take our solder. We're going to take our soldering iron. Let's pull this down a little bit so you can see the end of it there. And I'm just going to take and tack solder this just real light right here. Just like that. And down at the end here, I'm going to tack solder it too. Just a little bit. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do with it, I have some little clips that I have here. I made these these are just made out of the old-fashioned paper clips that you get at the stationery store. And these little fingers right here, these little guys right here, what I did, they were bent back over here. I just took and bent them back over, and I made some little fingers here. And what I'm going to do with those fingers, we'll take this out of here. And if we look real close here, we can see a little bit of an air gap coming right through here. So what I'm going to do with these is that they sit right in here, in between the glass and the U-came, and they pull these edges together super tight. So that closes up any air gap that they have in there. So when you get these hung up outside with the lights in them, here's one right here. If you can see it real close here, this will pull that together real quick. It just makes the job look a little bit nicer. There we go. You just flip these edges down, and you can set it back in here. It doesn't have to be set back in here. You can just leave it sit on the table. And we're just going to solder it in about 3 more places right here. So we're just put a solder joint right here, one there, and one here. So just take and set this in here. Just like that. And one right here. Okay, so that's 2 of them. So we got 2 panels together. This will be 2 of our 4. We'll just pull our clips off here. And this is what you're looking for right here. You want this to be nice and clean here. You don't want it to have any bleed through or any gaps in it. So it just makes the job look nicer on it. So we'll take the other 2 set here, the other set here, set it in here, get it lined up here for us. Now, you know, we talked earlier about not soldering the inside edges here. The reason we don't want to do that, if you soldered them, they'll have like a little bubble of solder on them, and they'll push these panels away from each other. By not soldering them, you can see that they're going to sit in here perfectly, nice and flat together here. Check them and make sure that they're right where you want them before you start to solder. Okay, that's good. Make sure they're up against our backstops right here on the edge. This isn't good right here. See how that's sitting there? There we go. Okay, we're going to take here and we're just going to take and give it just a little tack solder. I'm going to put one of my gloves on real quick here. Because I noticed down here at the end here that keeps wanting to spring away. So by having my glove on here, I can physically hold that shut real quick because I don't want it to be left open. The top up here seems to be fine. We'll just take and tack solder that right here. Here again, we're going to just tin the iron. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hold this. Just like that. And we'll solder it right there since that's where the solder fell. Okay. We'll pull that set out. I don't know if you can see that or not. Through the crack through here, there's a little bit of a gap there. So that's what the clips are going to do. They're going to pull that together. There's a better view of it right here. See the light coming through here? So we put these in here and they close that, they pull that shut. If you don't have some way to pull that shut, either put some rubber bands or something around here to pull that shut, you'll get some big gaps through it. And when you go to solder it, you'll have a lot of solder bleed through and it just doesn't make the job look that nice. All right. So we'll just bring this back over here and set this on here real quick. And then we'll put one here, a couple more here. We'll just solder this up. Come down here to the end and get this right here on the end. I'll come back here and clean this one up here a little bit here. There we go. All right, so now we've got 2 sets of 2. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn it and we'll put this other set in here and we'll line that up and we'll put it into sets of 4. that'll close up the whole project for us. So here again, here's what we're looking for right here, all this edge clean. So we'll bring this back over here. This is going to set in here like this. And this is going to set down in here like this. And we'll line up these two sets down here. You can see that this almost lines up by itself on the top here. I'm going to move the camera down right into this area right here so we can take a look at it and see if we can't get that so you can see me soldering this down inside here. What we're going to do, I'm just going to take the solder, pull it off the spool, and I'm going to reach back in here and solder these down. So I'll get my wife to come out real quick and we'll move the camera down and she'll take a couple of videos of this for us. So I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so I moved the camera down now so we can take a look at inside here. We're going to solder it right here, and then we'll come down to the back side here. So I'm going to make sure that these are lined up where we want them. Here again, we're just going to tack solder this. So I'm going to take and flux this right here. I'll come down to the end and flux it. And then I'm going to take my solder and I'm going to push it through, tin my iron here, and then I'm going to solder this right here. I'm going to switch this over here. I'm going to come down from the inside here. I'm just going to hold this here. Here again, I'm going to tin my iron. Get a little tack solder right there. Okay. And now I'm going to take and rotate it one more time to bring this other set around to it here. Now you can see that it's sitting on top of itself here. You don't want that. You want it to be splitting this right there, just like that. Pull this down so it's sitting where we want it. Check and make sure it's down tight. This is good right here. We're up against our stops. So I'll take and flux this real quick. Okay, here again, we're going to go through the back side. We're just taking tin or iron. I'm going to hold this down tight here. Solder this right here. Now, because I want to check this backside here, I'm going to just trick and turn it around for us here. You can see here that it's not quite down tight. There, it's good right there. So I want to be sure it's right where we want it there. Here we're going to go to tin or iron. Okay, I'm going to push these down tight. I'm going to just give it a little solder joint right here. Just like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera back up where it was before, and I'm going to put our clips on here and I'll solder it solid. Okay, so I moved the camera back up where it was before, and what I'm going to do now is right here, this is the area right where we're going to put our clips on right here. This is one of the sides that we're going to solder. This one right here, if you look at it really close, this one here is not quite where I want it. So I can fix that by just putting the clips on it. I can put the clips on it here, and I can push this back before I do anything. If you can see here, see how this doesn't split this evenly here? You got a little longer here, a little bit less here. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll go offline. I'll take and heat this up and push this back down. So that'll get that fixed for us. So I'll be back in a second here. Okay, so I got all four panels put together now. So now where we just tack soldered those last two, I've got my clips all on here. So now I'm going to go inside here and I'm going to really solder this up so it'll be nice and tight for us. So we won't, it's going to be difficult to see here, so I'll just go ahead and solder that up, and then when I come back I'll show you we're going to do one more little thing to it, and then this part of the project to be done. Then we need to build the pockets for our succulents to go in. So I'll be back in 1 second after I get this soldered up. Okay, so we're back. We got it all soldered up now. If you look at it real carefully here, you can see that it's not quite square. So what we're going to do is we take our mechanical square here and we'll push it off here. And I can kind of just see this here. This needs to go over, so you can take and you can push it till you get it to where it's square for you. Let's go just a little bit more. And what we're going to do with that is right here, in between these cleats here, we're going to run a piece of H-Keam across here, and across here, and that'll stiffen that up so that it won't lose its squareness. So I'll go offline and do that real quick. I'll come back on and show you how they're going to do it. We just cut little pieces of H-Keam to fit between here and here, and that'll stiffen that up. We'll solder them together there. So we'll be back in 1 second. All right, I'm back now. You can see where I put the little braces in here. They're just laid on the edge and they're just soldered here to match up here. So I took it outside and I washed it in some Dawn soap. You can see that it's all nice and shined up now. So we got nice seams here. We don't have any bleed through or any cracks in them, so that's good. So this part of the project's almost done. We'll put a bottom in it. I'll cut it. It's going to be made out of just a piece of opaque white glass. And then in the top here, we'll put a plate in here to hold our solar panel in here. So that part's almost complete, other than just putting the bottom in it and so forth. So now we're going to bring the drawing board back, and we're going to draw the second part of this. This is the first part right here, to make 4 panels like this. Here again, this is just a design that I threw together. You can make anything that you want to and give this a try. It's a little confusing right now because we haven't got all the pieces to make this work. And this next drawing is going to be a little confusing too, because it's not 3-dimensional, it's going to be flat. So it's a little hard to explain to you, but you'll see when we get the pieces made how they're going to go together. So we'll be back in a minute, and we'll get ready to draw this up for the second part, for the pockets that go on here. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, we got the drawing board back out now. So remember when this is the drawing that we scribbled on, the original drawing that we get started with. On the back side, I drew real quick here some dimensions here. This represents the face of our shelf or our pocket. The 45-degree angles are going to go off. They'll come off the side here like this. There'll be a 45 here, and that will make this, instead of sitting up, it'll make it pull away, so there'll be room between the back of my faceplate and the back of our solar light to put our succulents in there. So we need to draw 2 little drawings. One is going to be a 45. One is going to be this faceplate right here, and we're going to break these up so they're going to be all different colors also. This looks like this is going to really come out to be 2 3/8. I thought 2 1/4 would work, but 2 3/8 will be better. So to do this, we're going to just go ahead and we'll just draw us a baseline right here. So we'll just draw a baseline right here. And we know that across here is 3 inches. So our faceplate, we want our face to go in here. So we're going to make this 3 inches wide. So we'll go ahead and we'll take and measure that. So we're going to go right here, and we'll come up here for the width, just like that. And this is going to be, here again, this is going to be 2 3/8. All right, there's 1/4, there's 3/8 right there. So this will represent This will represent the faceplate for our project. Now our triangles here, what we're going to do with those, they'll be this distance right here. So we'll just come over here and we'll just mark that off real quick. We'll take and make this go like this. We'll do another little upright. And this gets a little bit tricky right here because this is the faceplate. This is where we want the 2 3/4 or 2 3/8 to be, coming down this way here. So you kind of have to eyeball this a little bit. That'll do it right there. Right there. So this dimension here is 2 3/8. From here to here is 2 3/8. And this is 3 inches. So our triangles down at the bottom here, looks like it'll be about 1 3/4, this right here. 1 3/4. So we'll take and we'll cut these pieces. So it'll be a 1 3/4 inch square, and then when we cut it down the middle, we'll get our 2 3/8 side here. So that's how that's going to be. This one here, I want to break it up into threes. So half, we're going to just do it real simple here. Half of the 3 is 1 1/2. And we're just going to go right to here, up to the corner, like that. We'll come back over here and do the same thing. So that's where we'll put our colors in here. You know, this may be blue, pink, green. We don't really care. I want to keep them broken up into a lot of different colors. Our triangle area here will be also different colors. So that they'll create the pocket. So for the areas here, because this isn't really a 45, it's kind of a funny angle. What we'll do is we'll take and we'll make a little pattern for that real quick. So we're just going to throw in a piece of manila folder. We'll take and tape it down real quick. Let me just push this over here real quick. This will just give us a little pattern to follow here. Just like that. Here again, we're going to take our carbon paper, carbon side down. Stick that in there. We'll tape that down just a little bit so it doesn't move on us. Here we go. Okay, so now I just take my ruler here again. And I'm just going to push down again and we'll darken this up. This will be for our front of our pockets. And we'll build a little form to make these because we're going to need 8 of these. So we'll have, because this is going to have 8 pockets on it. So we'll want to have them all the same, different colors, but the same shape, same size. There we go. When I build this, I'm actually going to make this is going to be the starting point down here because that's easier. We can just run a couple of pieces of H-came up here and then put these corner pieces in here. So this one here will actually be. Let's see how we're going to do that. This will really confuse you here. I'm going to turn this around. So when I number here, this will be like number 1. This will be number 2 and number 3. And we'll build it from here out. So we can cut our H-came to fit right in the corners here and go up. And then we can put these pieces in here. That way we can slide them in and we can mark them across the top when we go to cut them. So I know this is probably very confusing, but when we get the pieces together and we put them together as a pocket, it'll make a lot more sense to you. So stick with us and we'll get this set up and we'll get ready to make a couple of these. Okay, we're back. We got all our pieces cut for our first faceplate for our pocket. I took and I cut all the U-came here for the size of this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take and put in the bottom piece here. We'll put in a side one. And we'll put in a side one here. Take a couple pins here and pin it like that. And then this middle one here sits in here just like that. And like we said before on the header on the other one, this makes a 45 your cutter. So your cutter here, when you cut from the inside, it makes a 45. So that 45 is going to go in here. It's going to go right in the corner right there. Make sure you don't, you notice this is cut on an angle, make sure it's going in the right direction. Right there. Okay. I'm going to take and put a pin here to hold that. Then we'll come over on the other side here. Here again, got a 45 here. We've got the bevel or the cut here. So that'll be for our U-cam to go across the top. We want to put this right in the corner, right like that. Then we're going to take our next piece. It's going to slide down in here. That looks good. Then we're going to take our last piece, slide it down in here. That one looks like it's just a little bit too long. Okay, so we'll take and mark this. If you think this is a little bit too long, take your T-square here, set it in here, take and mark it. I'll step away for a second on the grinder and I'll grind that little bit off. So I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, I got it ground back down. So if you're interested in making this project, you don't have to make it this fancy. Like I said before, I have all these little scrap pieces of glass here and they're all mixed up. So I'm just going to use them up here. So on the top now, we'll run a piece of U-cam across the top here. And I got a little stick that I cut here, put it in here. Might want to take your hammer, just give it just a little tap, make sure everything's down tight. Put a couple pins in it here. That looks good. We're going to take our T-square again and we're going to check it and make sure it's square. That looks good right there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and solder that one. Here again, we're going to take our brush, brush this down. I'm kind of going to go through these kind of quick because the video is running really long and it's a little complicated, so I want to be sure that we get all the pieces together so everybody can take a look at it and figure out what we're doing. This pocket is the same kind of pocket we put on the one video that we have there hanging, the hanging planter. So if you get confused or if I skip something here, you can take a look at that one also. Okay, so we're going to solder that up just like that. Do a little bit better job than that one there. There we go. Okay, so that's our pocket face. We'll wipe it down here a little bit. Okay, so we need to make 8 of these. So we got one made right here. This is it right here. We'll take these areas right here and we'll fill them in. We'll put this on our 80 grit sandpaper. So now if you can visualize this, we're going to take our solar lantern part of it, and this is going to be sitting in here like this. Our 45s will go from here to the back of this, and this will create our first pocket for the project. So you can see we can make these are exactly the same, so we can turn this arrows upside down, the points upside down. We can do anything we want to with that. So I'll go offline. I'm going to make 8 more of these, and then I'll come back and we'll show you how we're going to make the triangles, how we're going to hook the triangles onto here, and then how we hook these to the solar lantern, and then we'll be done. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I took and cleaned up the edges on this just like I did before with the 80 grit sandpaper. So I filled them all in so they'll fit really nice. So anyway, our triangles will go on the back here to kick this out so that we can have a place to plant this. I didn't mention before, but on the back side, don't solder the back side because we need to have this clean. So when we put our triangles on here, they'll fit up tight. There won't be any gaps in them. So anyway, I'll be back and we'll show you how we're going to make the triangle. Then I'll make 7 more of these, and I'll make 16 triangles, and then we'll come back. I'll show you how we're going to put them on here, and then we'll attach them to the solar lantern, and we'll be done with the project. So I know this is running long. I apologize, but I wanted to be sure to have all the different settings for all these different pieces if you decide you want to try to make this. All right, well, we're back. We got all of our front panels made for our shelves now for our project. So we take our solar lantern here. These are going to go in here like this to create our pockets. And on the sides here, we're going to use these little 45-degree triangles. They're going to go in here like this to create the pocket part of this. So the last piece we need to make are these guys right here. We needed eight of the front panels for the 8 pockets. We can push those out of the way. So we're going to need 16 of these. I already made a couple of them just so show you what they look like when they're finished. Here again, we're using a little jig on a 45-degree angle. The cane we're using for this one is a little bit smaller. This is RU90. It's only 1/8 of an inch across here. It's also a rounded cane, 1/8 inch across the face of it here. And the reason I'm using that is because when I put this together with this, I don't want to have it too thick. So this is going to go on the side here like that. And I want it to start at the top and end at the bottom here. So we're just using the smaller cane. You could use this RU70 cane if you wanted to. It just pushes this out a little bit, makes it a little bit bigger. But either way, that works very well. Excuse me, the RU90 cane was pretty close to hobby cane. The hobby cane is a little bit thinner than that, so it's only I forget what the thickness is, but it's about another 1/16 of an inch, maybe a 32nd of an inch smaller than this. So that would work also. So anyway, the way that the little jig works here, we're going to take a couple of pieces of this U-cane. We're kind of cut them on a 45, and they're going to sit in here like this. Fits in there just like that. And then we take the 45 on our glass. It slides down like that. And then across the top here, we're going to run a taller one, a longer one. And across here, we'll solder this, then we'll cut these, and we'll sand them to the point here so that they're finished off like these are here. So that's how we'll do that. And then when we get these all done, we'll come back and we'll solder them to the face plate, and then we'll solder them to the solar light. We'll put our lights in, and the project will be done. So we're going to I'm not going to solder this up while we're on camera. We're getting pretty long on the video, so hopefully you haven't given up on us. But we are going to have a finished product here eventually. All right, we'll be back in a minute. Okay, well, I have my wife out here to give me a hand on this. What we're going to do now, here's all our pieces here. She can pan over here and we'll take a look at them. Here's all our little triangles. These will go on the ends of our pockets for our project. So anyway, to get those on there, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our pockets, turn it upside down, push it into this little 90-degree angle here, put a couple pins in it, and then take a set of triangles here with the pretty side out here, and they're going to go right here on the edge, and they'll line up. But if you're afraid that you're not going to get them quite lined up, put a little block right in here like this. Pin this down. This way you can lean them up against there like that. And we're just going to take and we're going to flux this right here. Right there and right there. Taking just tin or iron just a little bit. I'm going to hold that down right where I want it and make sure it doesn't go above the line here. Just put it right here. Just put a little solder joint right there. Tin your iron again. And just a little solder joint right here. Just like that. Then we're going to take this out. And we'll just take and turn it around. Push it back in here. Put your other one in here. Make sure your pretty side's facing out. Take and pin it here. We're taking, flux it up a little bit. Get our iron. Tin it. Make sure it's where you want it. Put your iron right in here. Right there. Tin your iron again. And there you go. So that makes one of our pockets now. So here's, it's going to sit like this. You want to be sure that it sits straight. It doesn't rock up and down. And we can put it on there that way. Or we can turn it over and we can put it on there this way. So let me get the solar lantern real quick and I'll show you where this is going to go. So the solar lantern's right here. So this pocket is going to go right here. This is where it's going to go. And we'll solder it on. So when the project is done, this pocket here, the inside of it, that's where we'll put our artificial moss and then our artificial succulents. So I think it's going to come out really nice for us. So when I get all these put together, I'll come back and show you how we're going to solder these on. And then we're going to be pretty much done with the project. So we'll be back in a few minutes. So, okay, so we're back. We got our pockets all put together now. So now we're going to mount them onto our solar lantern themselves. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take them set. I'm going to alternate these up and down as far as the V goes. Every other panel will be a little bit different. So we'll take the first set right here and we're going to set it in here and we're going to line it right up on the back side here, right against the back. We can take and check it with a square, make sure it's straight. That looks good right there. What we're going to do with that, we're going to just take, and right here, we're just going to take our iron. We're going to tin it, just a little bit of tin. Push it down, and we're just going to hold it right here and solder those together, just like that. Make sure it's still straight for you. Just like that. The second one is going to go right here. And we'll get that here. We'll move this down here just a little bit so everybody can see what we're doing. Here again, take and flux it. If this has been in there just a little bit, push it out just a little bit. Make sure it's kind of right in the center of that H-came. Down at the bottom here, we'll take our square again. I'll pull it in here and make sure it's square. That's what we want it right there. Here again, I'll tin my iron just a little bit. Push this down. Solder it right there. And we'll come over here and we'll solder this one right here. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of these offline. We're going to go ahead and we'll get this pantened. And after it's pantened, I'll go ahead and put the artificial moss in the pockets and put the succulents in it and put a chain on it and put the lights and so forth in it. And when it comes back, the project will be all finished. So this just gives you an idea how we're going to finish it off. So this is what it's going to look like here on the side here now with the two pockets hanging down. and this is the way they're going to look. This next side here, we'll run a set down here, and around the back side to finish it off. So the next time you see our project, it's going to be all Pantene hanging with the lights in it, and the project will be over. So I hope you've been following. I know this is a really long one. There's lots of moving parts to it, so it just takes a long time to put it together, but it'll make a very attractive gift, or just a very attractive item to have on your patio. If you wanted to, you could actually just leave the chain off, set it in the picnic table or the patio table, and use it as a centerpiece for the patio table. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, and I'll come back after we get it all done, and we'll give you a final look at it, and then we'll go ahead and we'll post it. And if you have any comments or anything, please send them to me. I'll be glad to reply to you and let you know if I can help you in any way. All right, we'll be back a little bit later. Okay, so we got the project all done now. So we got it all Pantene. We put our bottom in it, and I put our lights in it. So the project came out real nice. I hope everybody followed along. And when it gets a little bit darker, we'll come out and shoot just another short video of it, and you guys can see how it looks as it's lit up. All right, it's gotten dark outside now, so you can see all the lights have come on inside. So the project's all done. It came out really nice. I'm happy with it. So hopefully you've enjoyed watching the video. If you have any comments, please send them to me. I'll give you a reply on it, and hope you'll subscribe to my channel. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.